brought up the website where you can apply for benefits. I started applying for those benefits using Governor Whitmer's address, so a real address with a fake name. I was able to bypass the Social Security, alien number, and never getting denied benefits at the very end, getting registered to vote. Michigan's SNAP error rate is now 9.53%, far above the federal threshold of 6%.
Wait a minute. So just let that sink in. A real address, a fake identity, no verification, and somehow the system still said, you're good to go. Here's some taxpayer-funded benefits. Good afternoon, beautiful people, and welcome to Nellie Miranda. So today we are going to Michigan because what's happening right now poses a bigger question on how government systems handle the money, power, and trust that we keep willingly handing them. The clip you just saw was of a Michigan lawmaker who literally tested the system, and what he found was basic loopholes. This is why there is massive fraud in our systems. There's little verification, and it's super easy to dupe the system. So Michigan uses a portal called My Bridges. This is where people apply for food stamps, Medicaid, cash benefits, child care help, etc. Basically, this is the gateway to taxpayer-funded support, except the major issue is that the front door isn't always secure, and thus everything behind it becomes vulnerable.
In fiscal year 2024 alone, the state administered over $3.23 billion in SNAP benefits. So let's go into some of the key findings. One of the subcommittee key findings involved the Michigan Bridges online application portal. And although this system cost taxpayers more than $16 million up to date, our testimony revealed that the portal still lacks sufficient front-end verification tools to effectively prevent fraudulent and inaccurate applications, just as we talked about earlier. In many cases, eligibility verification occurs only after the application has already been submitted, which increases the risk of incorrect benefit payments and waste taxpayer resources. Can you imagine going on spending the money that we've spent on a website to then, by the way, tell me at the beginning of my committee when DHHS was before me, before we brought this portal up, they talked about how wonderful this website is, how great it is, and the investment. And then when we went through and they saw that we didn't have to put in a Social Security number, an alien number, and then we were given the ability to register to vote, they said, oh, wait a second, we catch this on the back end. Now, why would you spend money and have something on the front end to try to catch stuff on the back end when people are being underpaid or overpaid, and in some cases having 30 days to review a file?
Well, let me tell you who can protect you on the front end and the back end. CASHAPP. If you are 65 and up and you are on Medicare, you are probably on the wrong plan. There are so many different plans, coverage, and cost, and I'm sure you guys are trying your best to do your research, but the government websites are so confusing. For only 20 minutes of your day, CASHAPP will walk through all of your options and make sure you are getting the best plan possible. The call is completely free. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain, including a peace of mind. Imagine an emergency medical situation comes up and your current plan doesn't even cover it. That would be a nightmare. So you owe it to yourself to double check. So again, if you are on Medicare and you love yourself as much as I love you, please dial 646-817-8160. That is 646-817-8160, or go to askchapter.org/Nellie. So as we were saying, spending $16.8 million on a system that doesn't even protect against fraud and is a waste of taxpayer resources is lunatic. There are many confirmed cases of SNAP fraud, but the real question is, how much damage can $100 billion is a lot of money. They should eliminate the BBCE today. And to be clear, it's not about denying help to people who actually need it. This is about compassion without guardrails, which leads to fraud. Whenever fraud explodes, public trust disappears, funding gets questioned, and the people who actually needs the help suffers the most. It's a negative cycle. But let's switch gears a little bit. Michigan leadership is pushing for something else entirely. According to reporting, Gretchen Whitmer is pushing for hundreds of millions of dollars in subsidies, including a $261 million Megaite project.
That breaking news, tech giant SanDisk has scrapped its plans to build a $55 billion semiconductor factory in Genesee County, putting the future of the Mundy Township megasite into question.
It's hard to connect the dots here because on one hand, we're seeing how vulnerable many government systems and social programs are. Oversight gaps are being exposed. And then on the other hand, the answer is let's spend more taxpayer money. How does that make sense from 8 months ago? But in this article published today titled Michigan Megasite Cost $261 Million, Factory Never Built, the article reads, such secrecy lasted more than 2 years during one of the biggest economic development gambles of Governor Gretchen Whitmer's tenure. A $261 million speculative effort to assemble a 2-square-mile megasite to attract high-paying jobs to Genesee County without a company's commitment. Known as Project Grit, the project so far has acquired about 155 homes and demolished close to half. But backers have yet to attract a factory, leaving a township torn by distrust and lawmakers demanding answers. Taxpayers bankrolled the leveling of a community. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting because another report highlights that Michigan has dropped from 18th to 40th in per capita income since 2000.
A new report on Metro Detroit's economy is raising some red flags, especially with state income levels. Michigan's ranking has fallen from 18th in the nation back in 2000 to 40th in 2024. That's a huge drop. The State of the Region report from the Detroit Regional Chamber shows Metro Detroit is now near the bottom among peer cities, not only in income, but in several key areas as well. It's a scorecard, and I'm going to steal your words. We're calling a spade this year. So not only the income gap that we're talking about, there's some other red flags that have been raised by this report. Can you give us like a summary?
So first of all, when it comes to population growth, Michigan is second to the bottom. There's only one other state in the nation that has had lower population growth than the state of Michigan, and that is West Virginia. Not a state we necessarily want to be compared to when it comes to income, education, population growth, right? Fourth grade reading scores. We used to be in the top 20. As recently as 2000, in fourth grade reading scores, we are now in the bottom 10. We're 44th. In fourth grade reading.
Not good. And there was something else interesting in this study that we wanted to highlight, and that is the perception of Michiganders to the numbers. When you asked Michiganders what they think about these metrics, what did they tell you?
Almost by every key metric, our fellow citizens across the state think that we are dead average, 25th, 26th, 27th in all of these key metrics. But in reality, at best, we're 40th. So one exception, people with a college degree, and we're kind of in the mid-30s.
Okay.
So we're still below average,
Yeah.
but Michiganders think we're average. It's hard to know where you're going as a state if you don't know where you are.
That's a long-term slide. So the question becomes, if the strategy is working, then why are people falling behind? Oh, because it's obviously not working. Whitmer has also been asked to join a K-12 tax credit plan, and here's what they're proposing. So people donate money to education funds, then they get a tax break, and then that money goes to families as scholarships. But here's the catch. The state has to opt in, and right now, Whitmer hasn't. She is calling it a high-level talking point.
New federal tax incentive could change how your federal tax dollars are used. The Education Freedom Tax Credit would allow taxpayers to redirect up to $1,700 of what they already owe in federal taxes towards scholarships for students in their communities. Today in Hamtramck, U.S. Education Secretary Linda McMahon and Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall toured Hamtramck Academy, which is a public charter school, and then held a press conference. Later, they are pushing for the Education Freedom Tax Credit. This would allow some of your tax dollars to go to nonprofits, which then help families pay for things like private school, tutoring, or other educational opportunities. Here's Secretary Linda McMahon and Michigan House Speaker Matt Hall in our exclusive interview. How does oversight work on this program, Secretary McMahon?
Well, as we're implementing it now, this money will be coming into, these state scholarships, which actually the governor will approve, and then the legislature approves. So the superintendent of schools will do that. So the oversight really rests within the state.
And right now, We want the governor to opt in so we can start putting together scholarship organizations that we can send this money to that then can get it to the kids.
Some critics question who actually would benefit from this and whether or not this could somehow impact public schools' budgets over time.
I think this K through 12 tax credit plan is actually a win for families because it gives parents real options. Instead of being stuck in one school system, families can use these scholarships for private school, tutoring, homeschool, or specialized education. And the key here is that this isn't government spending, it's private donations being redirected to help kids. So at its core, I think it is about choice, flexibility, and putting families back in control of their children's education. So let me ask you, do you trust private organizations to manage education funds? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you got any value from today's video, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss future updates. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.